Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hey Captain Rath, so just tell me, why do you recruit only freshers?
The reason we recruit only freshers stems from the fact that we have a mission statement that says we have to blend talent and technology to deliver excellence in processes and customer service. Therefore, we need a whole lot of these talents. Now the question is, where do we find so many talents? We have tried all types of stunts, and one of it is recruiting freshers. For example, if we take a sample size of 100 freshers and we screen them, we get say for example maybe 10 guys who are up to our liking. And when we go for the experience kind of pool, in the first place what happens is we don't even get a pool of 100 guys. And when you get a lesser number of experienced people, out of that lot of say less number, say 10, the chance of getting a good guy to our liking is very remote. So it becomes a statistical difficulty. So I will say that there are two things. One is what our mission statement says, and second is this statistical difficulty. Because of these two reasons, we go for only freshers.
But sir, is it not a slow process to recruit freshers?
Yes, it is a slow process. It takes time to nurture these guys. It takes time and resources actually to train them to a level of leadership, to a level of responsibility and creativity. Not only that, midstream a lot of people leave. Therefore, it's a slow process. But again, we're looking at the long term. It's always for the long term. So it's going to take time. We have to have patience. So we always go for this long process rather than the quick fix.
So what is wrong in taking experienced talents from outside?
So there's nothing wrong in taking any experienced person from outside. In fact, it is a good thing to have somebody who is already experienced. But there are problems. We have problems. The problems are this. First is the person who comes from outside, he's already used to certain kind of culture. When he comes to our culture, it becomes difficult for him to adapt. It's not only difficult, it's sometimes painful for him and for us. Then comes the question of adapting himself to new technologies. So this process becomes sometimes so painful that a lot of guys actually leave midstream. So that's one of the reasons, that's one of the difficulties we find why we can't take this experienced people. But there's nothing wrong as such. They may fit into other organizations where probably their cultures match, or they're used to that level of automation and technology. There they may be fit, but here we find it difficult.
So talking about the culture, what is your culture?
Culture is something intangible in the first place. A culture is a compilation of unwritten codes, and those codes are never violated. Now, you can only feel the culture when there is a stimulus from outside the organization or from within. You can see it. And when I'm trying to describe our culture, I will describe it in an acronym called REACTS. R for responsibility owning. The person must own his responsibility for his actions, for his decisions, for mistakes. E for excellence driven. Always look for excellence in what we do, big or small. A for anti-tradition. That means doing something that is not done before, not following exactly the way the industry follows outside, as a habit. So that is A. C for customer obsession, or I would say the madness for customer. I'm not talking about customer satisfaction, customer delight, wowing the customer. No, I'm talking about changing the behavior of the customer. And the customer may not like it. And changing the way the customer is going to do his business in the future. And that's tough. Then comes T for technology and innovation. That's in our blood and you have to take it. You cannot leave it. And last but not the least is synergy. Synergy is the ability to work in teams within teams within teams. That means if given a larger team of econ, no matter where you sit, no matter what your department is, you have to get along with everybody. Everybody gets along with everybody else. So that's synergy.
So, sir, what is your training process?
Training process, actually the aim of training process are two. One is training our culture. Number two is the processes. So it starts with from the day of interview actually itself. He already gets a glimpse of what's going to come. On the first day of his joining, is given an induction where he gets an overview of our culture and the work what he's going to do. Then he's given a list of his roles and responsibilities. So he knows in writing what's going to come, maybe 1 month or 2 months or 6 months down the line. Then the candidate is assigned a mentor. The mentor takes care of his mentee for a period of say 30 days. And that period is very critical for us because this is the process where we see the progress of the candidate. As he starts taking more and more responsibilities, we always try to push a little more than what he actually has learned so far, little more than that. So that is the area where he's prone to make mistakes. In fact, he does make mistakes. So when he makes a mistake, that becomes a point of debate, deliberation, and discussion. And through that discussion process, our culture and the work process, both at the same time, are explained and ingrained into the candidate. So this is how basically we look at the training process, not more than 30 days. After 30 days, the person has to take some responsibility but the scope of that responsibility could be lesser or bigger depending upon how much he has learned during this first 30 days.
What qualities do you look for in a candidate?
Two things. First is intelligence. Second is attitude. Intelligence part is easy to measure. So we have a system of online test consisting of logical test, quantitative test, and so on. So we get a score and we know the person is intelligent or not. But the second part is attitude. That's very difficult to gauge. We have a system of psychometric test. We get some score. We get guided by that, followed by an interview. During the interview, we see the keenness of this candidate. We see the finer character of this person in terms of whether the person wants to make a change to his life, whether he wants to make a difference to the world outside, or he's stuck to his natural thinking of getting a job and getting paid for it. So from this we assess and make a best guesstimate of this character and we take a call. And this is an weak area where we make mistakes. Actually, the real character of the person actually reveals itself during the first 30 days of his joining. And after that we have time to rectify.
Does the person need to have any knowledge about shipping, or give us some tips of how to get selected in Econship?
First of all, no knowledge is necessary. Knowledge is abundant in this world. You can find it in Google. Even you can find that on our online system. As I said, we need two things. You have to be smart. You have to have a good attitude. These are the two things. Now, if you come prepared for this, I would say there's nothing much to prepare about, except that if you have an exposure to logical tests, analytical tests, and quantitative tests, they may help. But about the attitude, you cannot prepare. It's as it is, and it will be tested as it is.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time.